Right, this recording is for learning outcome, sorry, Unit 304 DOEP, Learning Outcome 2.2 to start with. Mike and Sarah are present. Okay, Mike. Now, obviously, especially in the environment that you guys work in, you're going to be mixing with lots of different people who have lots of different personalities. So how do you go about dealing with that very fact that you've got to work with different personalities?
We just got to try and treat all our users the same, obviously. We can't give a specific user any kind of, should we say, special treatment. Like, say if they wanted a favour for us while we're there, we're not allowed to do it because we might not be able to do it for another user kind of thing. So they've all got to be treated the same.
Okay, but that's not necessarily personality related, is it? That's a relationship related. So what about the fact that people have different personalities, and there might be a person whose personality just rubs you up the wrong way. How do you deal with it at work?
We've got to kind of just take it, really. We're not allowed to obviously retaliate, but if there is something obviously that keeps us distracted, we have to go back and talk to Jason about
it. Okay. So, but what must you make sure you remain at all times?
Silent. Well, not necessarily silent, but we can't retaliate to them.
Okay, so you can't retaliate. So
we've got to stay polite.
And it's another word beginning with P.
P.
All right. Can you have a shouting match with somebody in the office?
No.
Right, so what must you remain at all times?
Pleasant.
Yeah, that does begin with P. It's the wrong P.
I can't think of any P's now.
But you see, that worries me because it means you don't really see what I'm saying.
It's not in my head.
So tell me how you behave towards your fellow colleagues. Do you treat them the same way as you treat your mates?
No. Respect them. I'm trying. I know what I'm saying. I can't spin that out. Oh God, it's not coming.
So if you don't treat them like your mates, how do you treat them?
As work colleagues, you've got to respect them and.
Okay, so do you not respect your mates?
I do my mates anyway.
Right, okay, so it's not respect. You should respect everybody, but there's a word I'm looking for. You should remain something at all times, regardless of the situation. What is the word I'm looking for? It begins with a P. I'll give you a second letter. It's an R. P-R.
Professional.
Hurrah! Thank you.
I couldn't get it.
See, there's no point me telling you, because if you don't get it, then you don't get it. Does that make sense? So I'm not being awkward.
Words.
Okay, you're saying everything else. That's
professional.
Yeah. So,
I did kind of mean that in a way.
Yes, okay, but unfortunately, kind of doesn't wash, does it really? Okay, so you need to remain professional. Now, you're right in what you've said. You should not remain silent. Now, but of course, you are going to meet people who your personality doesn't necessarily match or get on with. So how often should you go to Jason? Give me a situation where maybe you need to take that to Jason.
When users have kind of started to mind them things.
I'm not so worried about your users. I'm more concerned about the people you work with in your team.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Your colleagues. So let's say because you're probably with your colleagues more time than you are with your users. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you've got a colleague. So at what point do you say, I think I need to go and talk to Jason?
I guess at a point where you start to think you're being bullied, kind of thing.
Okay, or it might be
when they're making you feel, the word's not there again.
Go on, no, when you feel bullied or... What's it affecting, Mike? What is the situation? That's it. That's what I'm after.
That's what I'm
okay? So when it starts affecting your work, that's the time to put your hands up and say, do you know what? I think I need to go and sort this out. Because in the real world, you are always going to have somebody whose personality does not match yours and you wouldn't necessarily mix with them. unless they are a work colleague. So my point is, you can't keep going to Jason, but the moment it starts affecting your work, Jason will want to know about it, because that is his, that's his area. He cannot have a situation where your work is being affected. Right, okay, sure, we got through that bit then. Right, next one. Okay, now again, this is particularly in your environment with all the national health, so I'm sure you will find that you deal with people where there are different cultural differences. So give me an example of what I mean by a cultural difference.
People who have different religious views.
Okay, that's a good one. Come back to that. What else?
Beliefs. I'm not too. I don't ever really have to come across this.
Say that again.
I've never actually come across this.
Okay, so are you telling me that everybody you speak to they're English?
Yeah.
Really?
100%.
So you're telling me that in the national health, you don't come across Indian doctors, Pakistani doctors, Chinese doctors?
I do see a lot. Yeah, I do see that. But
right. So tell me what the difference is and what is going to possibly present a problem for them and for you.
Our language.
Yes. Okay, so tell me, now I know quite often you're on site and you're talking to them, but let's say you're on the end of the telephone and you aren't convinced that they are...
the problem. With most obviously people with different cultures, it'd probably be easier to go and visit them on site to help show them through it.
Okay.
Because on the phone there might be speech and language barriers.
Right. So here is the scenario: you are on the phone, you have that problem. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to make sure that A, you understand what they're saying, and B, they understand what you're saying? What's the obvious solution to that problem if you can't understand each other as you're speaking?
Use email.
Good. And why is that different?
Because it's typed out, you can read it.
Okay. And more people can read a different language than
listen.
Speak it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Fair enough. Now, just going back to the religious side of things, where might that have an impact?
Where might religious have an impact?
Now, this is quite likely, I suppose, for you because you do more support on site than remote. So think about somebody who's of a religion that they need to go and pray regularly.
Okay.
So what
timings, I guess.
Sorry, say that again.
Time of the day.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll have to arrange times to obviously see them, and yeah, that's it. Arrange a time to see them when they're free and able to see us.
And not interfere with their praying.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right, now, obviously you're relatively young on your team, okay, and also your expertise is pretty limited. So tell me how you're using the expertise that your fellow colleagues have got.
When admin guys are signing us different calls, it's usually careful on what calls we do, but sometimes we do get the odd challenging one. And when I see it before I go to it, I obviously know it's going to be a difficult call. So I would ask someone about it before I go, and just obviously head off there and see what I can do.
Okay.
And the first step I'd take would be to ring someone on site.
Right.
And see how far that gets me.
Okay.
Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it's not.
Okay.
And take someone back with me next time I go.
Okay, so in other words, you use their expertise.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know generally it doesn't necessarily say that they're older, but I am right, they are older than you, yes?
Yeah, everyone.
Okay, so it kind of goes hand in hand, I suppose, in a way. Okay, same kind of thing. Your customers must range from very young doctors and nurses all the way up to older consultants. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me how you deal with those two different types of users, because they are different, but tell me why and how you deal with them.
The younger people, seem to understand a lot more what we're telling them.
Mhm.
But not necessarily understand, but they agree with us more, kind of.
Yep.
Whereas the older people, we kind of have to show them through it
Mhm.
and explain ourselves when we say something.
Okay. And why is that? Why do the youngsters pick it up easy? Because that's what you're saying. They pick it up easy. You
Yeah,
can tell them,
because
and they go,
they've
"Yep, all
lived with
right."
it. They've lived with technology and the new stuff that's coming out, whereas the older people, it wasn't around.
Good. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Okay. Now, the final part of that is location. So obviously, what percentage would you say you're on site as opposed to maybe doing remote support?
Um, I'm out at least 90% of the time,
Yeah.
rather
So,
than doing remotes.
okay. And what area do you have to cover, Mike?
Um, just me specifically,
Yeah, just you.
Portsmouth. It, it can range up to, I think the most I've travelled is to Gosport.
Okay. So quite a big area then, yeah?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
we cover whole of Southern, so
Yeah. Okay.
I
So
could
how? Sorry, go on.
potentially have to go very far, but I
Okay.
don't have to.
Right. So how do you make sure that when you get to a job, you've got everything on board that you need to be able to do that job, and also any unexpected issues? How do you cover those?
Um, it depends. If what I think is we always have spares on us.
Right.
So I've got a work van, so we've got no spares in the van for anything.
Mhm.
This could be the mouse, keyboard, monitors, and the computer.
Good. Yeah. So you're prepared for anything really, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And when do you kind of um, do a stock check in your van? Do you do that at the end of each job, or do you do it at the end of the week, or how does that
Um,
work?
it depends if I've used any of it, and if
Right.
I know. Once I've
Okay.
used it, I know I've got to change it. So it
Okay.
would be as soon as I've done it.
Right. So once you've used something, then you replace it, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, good. Okay. Now, finally, you kind of started talking about this a moment ago. You were saying that if you've got a job that you're not sure of, you will actually ask somebody first, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. So just take me through the process. So here you have a job. You think, do you know what? I'm not 100% sure. Who would you ask first? Is there any set person, or how does it work?
Um, there's only two people I can really ask.
Okay.
I usually go straight to Jason,
Right.
but if he's busy, there's a colleague I could ask.
Okay. Do you research it yourself first?
Um, if I'm on site, I'll research it. Yeah.
Sorry,
But
if you're on
if I'm on
site,
site, yeah.
you
If I'm on
do.
site and I can't obviously solve it, I'd research it
Right.
and then I'd ring
So,
Jason.
okay, so you try and do it. So try and solve it yourself first, and then if you're still
Yeah.
not sure, you ask Jason. Good.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.